peut commencer? Okay. Can you hear me? It's fine? No? It's fine? No? Yes? Hello guys, can you hear me? Okay, that's fine. Okay, sorry. Welcome for joining for this Inventory 17 talk about flexible inventory rules. We have a pad here for questions. If you have some, don't hesitate to scan it, and I will try to answer your questions after the presentation. My name is Gilles Merckx. I'm a business analyst and inventory expert at Odoo. I would like to know whether that could be you. You know, trying to reserve quantities again and again. You know you have available quantities, you reserve, but the system doesn't want. And you think that maybe if you click 10 times, the 10th time it will reserve. Obviously, it will not. So actually, this might be due to an MTO chain. MTO stands for make to order. When you validate a sell order, the MTO will create in response the purchase order and the related transfer. That creates a locked chain of transfers, which is difficult to escape from. Actually, people from inventory will love MTO. It's easy, it's comfortable. So we love it, but we know in the meantime it's not flexible. And so actually, we want to find solution to bring more flexibility into that. When you use the MTO, you actually create a strong link between your sell order, your purchase order, and the related transfers. That's good for traceability and visibility. You can easily find when you are on a purchase order, on a transfer that is related to a specific sell order. And when you are on the sell order, you can easily find that it's related and navigate to the other transfers and purchase order. But it creates a locked chain of transfers from which you cannot escape. If you have an unexpected event, it's difficult to react. If you want to reallocate the product between two MTO chains, it's also difficult because everything is blocked. And so you might sometimes face customers who have to choose between MTO and reordering rules and who can't really choose between the traceability and the flexibility. They end up having this difficult choice to be made between two interesting alternatives, but no perfect ones. And I have a very good news for you guys. We have an opportunity to get the best of both worlds thanks through the flexible routes in Odoo 17. To do that, actually, we have here new opportunities. We can add a transfer in an MTO chain manually. We can switch the MTO chain into an FTS1 thanks to push rules. We can switch the logic, and we can finally also keep track of everything. Even if we add transfers, this will still be available from the website. Okay? So this is actually a common MTO flow. This is a theory. If everything goes well, you go from the vendor, then to your input location, to your stock, to your output, and then finally to the customer. But from time to time, it looks more like this, reality. You have problems, unexpected events. You have a quarantine zone to be used. You need to make a quality control. And you need to be able to react, to adapt the current way of working. You will be able to lean on flexible routes for that. When do we use flexible routes? When we have an alternative route. When you validate your sell order, you have to trigger a route, but sometimes you know maybe it's going to be another one. But you lack of information, and this adaptation can be used with alternative routes. More intuitively even, when you have an unexpected event, you want to add in your MTO chain an extra step. This is not possible in version 16. This is now possible in version 17 with the flexible routes. More concretely, in which practical situations can we use it? A few examples. You need to repair a package. This is not planned in advance, but you realize you have to do it, you add a step. An opportunity cross-dock. You receive a product late from your vendor, and the truck to deliver the customer is already ready to leave. You just say, okay, send it directly to the truck, and we don't go to the stock, we don't lose time, otherwise we would not be able to deliver it on time. Another option is when you have to send a goods to a quarantine or when you have an unusual quality control. There is a problem with the product, you want to add an extra step to check that the quality is actually good and that you can send it to your customers. And finally, you can make a complete route deviation. You completely change the route that you had planned. You wanted to send it directly to the customer, but finally, you want to do it differently. You send it to the shop. This is possible now with a flexible route. Pay attention. This is an anticipated flexibility. You need to define in every situation how the system should react and how the operators should react. So you need to define standard operating procedures that define this change of behavior. And you need to configure in Odoo that when this happens, this new transfer should be created. Of course, it's not magic. So let's now practice in Odoo 17. Let me show you a few cases in which we can use the flexible routes. You'll see in the two first cases, it works perfectly. In the two other cases, I wanted to show when we can use it as a workaround and still save a lot of time in very attractive cases. First, you have an unusual quality control. So when you have an unusual quality control, actually here, you receive the good in input. I'm always working here in MTO. Here, it's a two-step delivery, two-step reception. You receive the product in input, and you decide to send it to the quality control area because maybe there is a problem with the package or the product, and you want to make sure it's working fine. And then you send it directly to stock. Let's see how this looks like. I create a new sale order for my customer Deco Addict here. The product here, I made a demo one product, which is a smartphone. I sell my smartphone, and because I'm in MTO, this creates a purchase order, which I confirm, and I can receive the products when I receive it from my vendor. I validate. So I have received the products in my input location, but now I realize there is a problem. There is a problem, and I want to send it to my quality control area to make sure it's still possible to sell it. I change on my picking destination location, I change this into quality control area. So I divert this transfer. And actually, when I save this, you will see here the destination location on the stock move lines on the detail operations will be updated to quality control area. And it's hidden, it's more technical, but it's the same that happens for the destination location of the stock moves. That's important because that's what will trigger the next transfers, but that's more hidden. When I validate this transfer, if I go back on my sale order, I now have 5 deliveries, and it's nice. I have now a transfer created between the quality control area and the stock that really enables me to adapt my flow due to unexpected circumstances. How did this happen? Actually, I will really show you the intuition here because I don't have the time for more. But I had created a route with a push rule saying that basically when a product arrives in the quality control area, a transfer needs to be created to push it further in my stock location. And that allows me to deviate it from my quality control area to my stock to put it back in my chain, which was planned before. Okay? So I diverted my transfer from input to stock, from input finally to quality control, and then I trigger my new transfer from quality control to stock. Right? So now I have my transfers. I can follow the chain of transfers and validate the different transfers here, such that I finally deliver my customer, and I keep all the information on my sale order and the full traceability of my MTO chain, even though I had to escape somehow from it. The second case is not very different. It's I want to send goods to quarantine because, again, I have a problem with the package or with the product. I need to check that more deeply. But now, once the product has been sent to quarantine, I want it to come back to input because maybe my put away process to store it is just leaving from input. And so for that, it's slightly different, but the logic remains the same. I create a sale order for my Deco Addict customer. Now I will sell a laptop. I confirm this. That creates a purchase order, which I confirm. Again, I will just receive the good in my input location. And then, actually, there is a problem. I want to divert it. But let me show you something. because it's actually my operator that manages that with the barcode. So it will go through the barcode, and actually it will now go to the internal transfer. He realizes with his barcode that there is a problem, and he decides to make sure to send it to quarantine. And so here we have added here on the picking in the barcode, in the little I here, the destination location on which we can change the destination location of the picking to trigger this new feature. And I put here my zone quarantine. I do confirm, I scan the product and validate. Now, I'll make it again a little bit bigger for you. If I go back on my sale order, obviously this transfer has been confirmed also in the backend. And now I have my transfer from quarantine to input that has been also created. It has been created again thanks to a route and a push rule on a route, and this route has been set on the product. So I can validate my full chain. Now the good is fine in quarantine. Finally, it's okay. I send it to my input location. Then I put it in my stock. I put it in my output location, and I finally deliver my customer without any problem. Okay? So in these two cases, it works perfectly. Then let's go to another case, which is an opportunistic cross-dock. So in this case, basically, I receive the goods in input, and then I realize I have to hurry up. The truck is ready to leave, and I want to put it in the truck. I don't have the time to put it at the bottom of the warehouse, then ask another operator to pick it at the third stage. Doesn't make sense. I directly want to take it from the input location, put it in the output location such that it's loaded in the truck and it can go immediately. I create a new quotation to show you how this would work inside the system. I have now my product charger, which I still sell to my customer Azure Deco Addict. I confirm, still the same setup, two-step delivery, two-step reception, one purchase order automatically generated because I'm in an MTO chain. I receive the good in input. Then the warehouse manager tells me, look, this has to leave immediately, send it to output. I just go to my destination location and change the stock location to the output location to divert it. I will save that updates the destination location on the stock move lines, and I can then validate my transfer. Then I told you in these cases, it's not perfectly working because it doesn't cancel the transfers which are not needed anymore. So this one, for example, between stock and output, which we have bypassed. So that's the only limitation I found so far in this new feature. But here, my transfer is ready, so I can find it. My operator can find it in the barcode. It's ready to go from the output to the customer location. And the only thing you need to pay attention, I told you, it does not actually cancel pickings. And if it doesn't cancel pickings, it's because it doesn't cancel stock moves. And here in my operations, you can see there are two lines because actually it has created a new line. It didn't remove the old ones, but the old ones is not ready. In the quantity column here, it's not ready, it's not there. So when I validate, I just have to pay attention to say, in this situation, I don't want a back order. And in my transfer, then I can cancel the initial transfer, which I don't need anymore, because I don't want to leave it in the system waiting, which I will never use. Okay? Did I cancel? No, I didn't cancel it. Okay? So it's the only difficulty, but it took me 5 seconds, 6 maybe. And if I had to do it differently, what? I would have made a manual transfer. I would have needed to remove quantity from my locked MTO chain, reallocate it by forcing the system because I cannot reserve a unit that is for an MTO chain. That would have taken me way more time, and I would have lost in visibility and traceability. So even though it's not perfect, still I think it's amazing and it needs to be used when we need it. That saved me one transfer. So it's nice, but it's not yet amazing, completely amazing. But when you are in the next case, you have a full route deviation, which is something I think we really had nothing to do, something similar in Odoo, and it will save us time and it will help us to treat many cases that we couldn't really manage so far. So now think about this case. I'm now in a system with a 3-step delivery and 3-step reception. So I receive from the vendor, I go to plenty of operations to deliver it from my warehouse to the customer. So let's do that. So it's another setup, so I just switch my company in my 2 windows. Okay. So, yep. Okay, so the switch of company. I make my sell order. I will keep working with my nice customer Deco Addict and sell my tablet, my last product. I do confirm, and it's empty also, the purchase order is created. And that creates me a chain of 6 transfers for which I validate the first one, so I receive the goods in input. Now I have my 5 transfers to deliver my customer directly at home. But my warehouse manager tells me, look, the customer called and he doesn't want to be delivered at home because he's on holidays for a long time. He will pick it up at the shop, send it directly to the shop. Okay, I will just divert my next transfer and I will send it to my internal output location, which I have created manually. And validate. When I go back on the sell order, I see 9 transfers. It has triggered the new route with several transfers. One to send it here from the internal output to the inter-warehouse transit location. Then from the inter-warehouse transit location to the stock of the shop. And finally, from the shop to the customer. Okay? And so my customer is delivered. And again, I would need just to cancel the transfers. That's a little problem, but I could do it. It would take maybe 10 seconds. And even if we automate the cancel next move, it would take just cancel. We will just have to need to cancel only one transfer. It would automatically cancel the other one. So honestly, it's a small problem. If you had to change that, you would have to cancel your sell order, then create another one, but then your purchase order is maybe not linked anymore to your sell order. You need to make complex things. You lose in traceability and visibility. You make errors. Here, you just have to cancel 4 transfers. Okay? So I think it's really one nice feature. I hope you like it also. So the demo is over. So before closing this session, I just want to recap a bit what we have discussed. So first, with the flexible routes, now you can add transfers on the go in an MTO chain when you face unexpected events, unexpected situations. While doing this, you actually switch from an MTO chain to an MTS one, make to stock, which is more flexible, so you can more easily reserve quantities which were not booked for this specific sell order, which is really nice. And you do that with push rules. So for constraint of time, I didn't show you every time which push rule I had created, but the logic is always the same. When you want to trigger a push route, you just create a push route to say that when the product arrives here, even if it's not expected at the very beginning, you should create a transfer to bring it somewhere else and go back in another chain of transfer or join back the transfer you had created before. Finally, you keep the traceability of everything with these modifications, and it's barcode compatible, which is, of course, when you manage a warehouse, a critical matter. So if we look at the higher picture, we can with this manage more flexible processes, and this flexibility, however, needs to be anticipated. So this is a new feature from Inventory 17. We always try to make it get better, faster, and easier because this is what we need when we manage inventory. And so finally, I want to thank you for your presence, your attention. And if you have any questions, you can scan this QR code, and I will try to answer this right now. Thank you.
All right. It seems like we have plenty of time for some questions. There are already some questions in the pad. The first one being, is it possible to move some quantities from the input to a quality control location? So if the picking contains more than 2 products, for example.
So if the picking contains several products,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
for example, you receive 5, then you realize 4 are good, so just follow the routes, another 1 not. Actually, that's a good question, and I didn't show the quiz because there is a little bug, but it will work. What you will have to do actually is to validate the transfers which work well, and then just deviate the unit is at that has a problem. So you validate your picking, it creates a back order with just the remaining quantities for which we have the problem, and for this one you can just deviate it, and then it will work fine. So probably in a couple of days it's going to be fixed, so it's really a small bug fix, but that's going to be possible, yeah.
All right, thank you. Next up, what will happen if during handling it is identified that in the box we have another part number, so it's a vendor label mismatch, for example? And how do we repair the flow in such a case?
So if in the box it's not the product you have ordered,
Yes, I suppose so, yes.
yeah, then it's not a question of flexible routes, it's really another process. So what you would have to do in that case, you have two options actually. Either you receive the product, then it enters your warehouse, it enters your inventory valuation, then you need to make a return to make sure it's not staying in your warehouse. Then it's more like the full traceability, or you just don't receive it in the system and manage that out of the system and just call the supplier and say, look, you made an error, can you send me the right product? And you just bring back the order. That's more the two processes you can use for that kind of problem.
All right, thank you. And another question, what would be the easiest way to see what you should cancel in bulk? Is there an easy way to say, show me transfers waiting where the product has already gone to the customer location?
Yeah, so I think the easiest is from the back end, because for example, if you see you have delivered the full quantities and you have transfer still open over there, it's easy, you can cancel that, and it's quite obvious. For the operators, it needs to be clear, because you need to tell them do no back order, otherwise you will cancel it yourself in the back end. So that's the only little problem, but what I would say is that it's a first version, so we will push to remove this problem. We already talked with the product owners to make it like perfect, because I think if it's perfect, it can be really kind of a game changer for flexible supply chains. So yeah, I think you need to pay attention to which transfer you need to cancel, but when you are in the back end, you can see that pretty clearly. Once you have delivered your customer, everything that remains open, you can just cancel it.
All right. And another one, can you send one quantity from stock and one quantity that is bought from a vendor and delivered via a sale order?
So it's not as the same as the first question, like you have one quantity that is good and just follow the normal chain, and then when you have the back order, you just divert the back order, and so the diversion will concern only the back order, which will be fine.
All right. And is it possible to change from a dropship to a delivery form?
For a dropship, that's a good question. I didn't test the case, so I don't want to say yes like that. But when you do a dropship, you have a transfer going from vendor to customer. So if you change a destination location, for example, from customer to input, and if it triggers transfer inside your supply chain from input to stock and so on, because you have push rules to enable that, I guess that should work. But to be honest, I didn't test the case. But I don't see why it would not work.
All right. And could you explain shortly the importance of the sequence number of rules?
The sequence number on the rules?
Yes.
Yeah, actually I did a smart class on Monday, and so even in a smart class of 3 hours, we didn't speak about the sequence, because on the rules, it's just a technical field. So except in very specific situations, you don't need it. What is more important is the sequence of your routes, because when you have different routes which are competing, namely which can be used at the same moment, if they have the same level of priority, the system will choose the route that is highest in your list of routes, meaning the one that has the lowest sequence. So it's the sequence of routes that matter. The sequence of rules have basically only a technical impact, which should not pay attention to.
All right, and I think that's the final question. Any plans to make it even more flexible in V18? So are there any plans for V18?
Yeah, no, that's a big plan actually to like improve the way we manage stock picking, stock move lines. I think this is a nice step. So what I would like first is that we make this first step perfect. I think that would be great, and then maybe even a more ambitious way of making more flexibility. But that's, yeah, I'm just an inventory expert, so I'm not the one deciding. So you can come to the booth and discuss with the product owner. You can try to motivate him with us to bring even more flexibility, so don't hesitate.
All right, and that is all. Thank you very much for your questions, everybody.
Okay, thank you very much.